The first time we hooked up to our Grand Design Solitude fifth wheel, we had no checklist. I hit the retract all button to move up all the jacks, and then this happened.
First time doing retract all, it's scaring me. It's going all the way down right here. Oh my goodness.
That's right, your RV can do downward dog. Although that may be a good thing for humans, I don't know. For RVs, that is not a good thing. Now, if I had a checklist, this wouldn't have happened. Oh, this is a mess. And this wouldn't have happened.
Please don't rip, please don't rip.
And this wouldn't have happened.
We have no sewer hose, it's gone.
RV checklists are like a physical checkup. Nobody likes them, but they know they need them. I personally despise checkups. Sitting in a waiting room, letting some strange person look you over and tell you all the mistakes you've made. However, guess what that doctor is using? That's right, a checklist. And if that doctor doesn't have at least a mental checklist of what they've learned through school, huge problems can occur with your health. RV checklists, they work the same way. They take extra time and energy to put together and to use, but by using those checklists, you could be saving yourself from all kinds of issues. RV checklists are kind of like having your own RV doctor, but without the fees.
Okay, so as we get started, you definitely want to have a way to make a checklist. Now for us, for this video, we're gonna be referencing Apple reminders a lot. Not because I think it's the best necessarily, but because we're iPhone users and I just think it's simple and there's very little barrier for entry. And probably my favorite thing about iOS reminders is that I have an Apple Watch. And so at any point, if I think of something that needs to go on an RV checklist, I have a list called RV checklist. Add sweep the floors to RV checklist.
Okay, I added sweep the floors to the RV checklist list.
So if I think of something while I'm driving, if I'm taking down the RV, or if I think of something I saw in a video, and then if you want to get fancier beyond that, which is what we're going to do for you guys with the link we'll share at the end of the video, I take what's on that checklist and I could push it into Notion, which is my more broken down checklist. So are you ready to make your checklist with whatever you want to use? Doesn't have to be Apple reminders. It could just be a piece of paper. It could be Google Tasks. It could be Todoist. It could be Notion. Whatever you want to do. Have you got that ready? It's okay. I'll wait. I'll wait. Okay, I can't wait. I have to keep this moving, but be ready to make your checklist. The way that we're breaking down this video and the checklist we're gonna be sharing with you, we're basically breaking the checklist down to the day before we leave on our road trip checklist and the day we're gonna leave for the road trip checklist. And then within each of those checklists, we have 3 different areas. Checklist items to be done outside the RV, which usually pertains to me. Checklist items that are inside the RV, which is usually Marissa. And then checklist items that require some sort of a trip into town or moving around. So one of the first things we do is we ask ourselves, okay, what do we really need? Or are there things already in my RV that I don't need? Maybe you keep a lot of games and books, pots, pans, blenders.
This large? Nathan said my new blender couldn't go with us.
If there's anything you have that you're not actually using when you're RVing, like just let it go. So update on the smoker, I like it, but I don't love it. And for something that weighs, I don't remember how much it was, like 75 pounds and takes up that much room, I'd lose like at least 2, if not 4 of my crates inside carrying this in here because I can't put anything in the back of my truck except for like a bag of chips at this point with our slider hitch. Because I just like it and don't love it and I have a place to keep it here, I'm gonna keep it here. I've got a high quality tarp, I'm gonna cover it with a tarp. Anything that needs charged up, charge the day before. So I've got these boosters. This one stays in the Jeep, this is the one for the truck. So both of these, I've got these charged up. E-bike battery charged up. Propane, we get that done the day before. So now when it comes to day before stuff that Marissa can do on the inside, because the inside is kind of her turf and then outside is my turf. We do go back and forth a bit and we like double check each other a little bit. So her list isn't as long the day before, but her list is probably as long or longer than mine on the day of. But the stuff that she does on the day before,
I just try to wash all of our bulky bedding because that's one of the things that is kind of a pain when you're like traveling around. We have a washer and dryer in our fifth wheel. I can do all of our laundry, which is incredible. The bedding is the one thing I have to take either to a campground laundromat or a laundromat in town. So just trying to get that done while we have access to a larger washing machine. The other thing I like to do is go ahead and grocery shop because travel days are one of those things. You just don't know how it's gonna go. One, because I like knowing where my grocery store is and having that all done and the foods that I know I like. Because when you're traveling, you don't know what you're gonna get. Like grocery stores vary. And also because when you show up at a campground and you've had a long travel day and it's time for dinner, the last thing you want to do is be like, oh, okay, well now we need to go grocery shop. Already having that something quick for dinner like tacos. A majority of the cleaning can also be done ahead of time. Really alleviates and makes it a quicker transition when it's time to come in and do that really deep. Are we ready to put our slides in clean?
just a little side note, if you're doing doing these checklists, one thing I like to do is I have my Apple Watch with me. And of course you can use your Android phone, iPhone, whatever. And I will set alarms for a lot of this stuff. And so the generator, you know, if I want it to run for 15 minutes, I just push my button, say set timer for 15 minutes. And in 15 minutes, that timer's gonna go off. One thing we like to do before we leave a spot with full hookups is to flush our black tank. So now most of your Grand Designs, you're gonna have a separate connection. So our water hose is gonna swap from here to here. And then I'm gonna adjust this setting to the sanitize setting and then turn on the water pump. And basically what that's doing is just taking water and just flushing it into the black tank and spraying it and pushing it around. You'll see quite a bit come out that you probably didn't even expect was still in there. Man, it smells kind of disgusting in here right now. Flush it, flush it. If there are any RV techs watching this right now, if you could just like leave the room or like plug your ears, preferably. But something I do when I flush the black tanks, I kind of watch it until it starts to look clear-ish. And then once it starts to look clear-ish at the elbow, I'll close the black tank. I'll let the water run again. Set timer for 5 minutes. Yeah, I know. I think there's actually a warning. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's actually telling you right there, don't do this. I'm gonna let it go for 5 minutes. It's gonna fill my tank up about 2/3, because that's what the warning's for. Do not, I repeat, do not do this to the point that you overfill your tank. Just don't do it. It'd be bad.
Fire in the hole!
Ooh, stinks in here. But what I'm doing is I have my tank treatment. I'm going to put that into the tank because it's the day before, right? And like, because I'm filling the tank up 2/3 of the way, the tank treatment gets to sit in there overnight. And even though I thought things looked clear at the elbow, tomorrow, when I let this out again, it's gonna be all dirty again. And we've been here a while, so these definitely needed wiped down. So I like to go ahead and wipe these down. It can't be good to have all that gunk going up in here. And then sometimes I do. I come back with like a silicone spray and spray it on there. Right now, my fresh tanks inside are empty. I also like to fill the tank up to about 1/3. We don't plan on boondocking between here and our next stop. However, you just never know. We might stop at Walmart, might stop for lunch, something might go wrong, and we end up needing to have water. So I always like to keep a little bit in the tank. Love hate with the e-bikes in the back. So on the checklist for those, always make sure the rack is secure. So if anything ever comes loose, it's almost always right here, this bar. You got these little knobs in here. I like to check all those knobs too. Always try to put up the awning on the checklist. And then of course toys. Any toys we got sitting out that I know the kids are not gonna be playing with in the morning. We're hoping to get going in the morning, so we're not gonna have them playing with those in the morning. I'm gonna be putting those up too. So how's your day before you leave checklist coming? If you're like me, you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now because this is a lot of stuff. This is, to me, the one thing you need to do before you leave that's a huge deal. And that is to check the tire pressure and do a visual inspection of your tires on the truck and the tires in the RV, or if you have a motorhome, all the tires. Check all the tires. Make sure the tire pressure is where it needs to be. Look for any weird like bumps or molds. Look for any weird tread. Is the tread like worn on only one side? Is the tread worn on just the inside of the tires or just the outside of the tires? These are all things that I like to do the day before we leave if I can. Make sure the windshield's clean on the truck. Make sure the mirrors are clean. Make sure the outside cameras are clean on like the backup camera on the RV. And if your truck has a camera, clean that as well. Check the mirrors on the truck. Make sure they're aligned properly, or maybe you're not in tow mode. Maybe they're like up and they need to be out. See that? Actually, I think I got that. If you're super ambitious, AKA Corey or Stuart, you know who you are. Like, wash the RV, wash the truck. We know guys that like almost every time before they leave, they wash their truck and they wash their RV. It's also not a bad idea just to go ahead and detail the truck. Make sure the truck on the inside is clean, clutter-free, especially if you have kids, because it's not gonna get any better once the kids get in the truck and you start traveling. We use Google Maps to travel. Whatever you're using, your Garmin or whatever, make sure it is got all the maps it needs to have. So if I'm going somewhere, Yellowstone or somewhere without service, I make sure I download all the maps ahead of time to my phone or to my navigation device so I can run offline mode and have all those maps if I need them. I'll usually also go ahead and sort of scope out the route for the day coming up. Another big one I don't think I've mentioned, like fuel up the truck the day before. Don't do it the morning of your travel day. Travel days are stressful enough. Don't spend any extra time messing with the truck, having to drive out, find fuel, come back. It's the theme of the video, but don't add extra stress to your travel day by not checking off things you could have done the day before. So travel day is here. The good news is, if you do most of the stuff we've already talked about the day before, there's really not a whole lot to do on travel day. But there are a couple of things that are a really big deal. When you're hooking up the truck to the fifth wheel, you really want to make sure that thing is properly hitched. If you have a truck and a fifth wheel, or even a trailer, really anything, you really want to pay a lot of attention to the hitching up process. You don't want it to slip off. You want to do the tug test. You want to make sure your breakaway cable's attached. You know, everything in that area is double and triple checked. Probably like the biggest stuff to make sure it's done right. We have a very personal checklist, I'd say, on travel day. I mean, we're bringing cameras out, setting up those in the truck, iPads for the kids, things for the road because we have the kids. I'm activating the navigation that I looked at the day before with my iPad mini. That's what I use to navigate. We're getting all the things moved basically from the fifth wheel. And you got your basic outside tasks of like, you know, the water, the electric, and the sewer. And as far as the inside stuff we take care of, really the one, I'm gonna say big main thing is to make sure the slides are clear. Because we've had before a floor ripped because a tiny little, I think it was a toy from an LOL doll. We're washing dishes, we're sweeping, and then we're going through and mopping, getting that floor as clean as possible on the inside. For us, you know, we got a latch where we lock the refrigerator, we're securing loose items on shelves and things like that. We gotta lock the sliding doors in place. And then Marissa goes around and she does like a cabinet check. So you make sure all the drawers are closed, the cabinets are closed. I'll come in right before we leave and I'll do a double check on everything. So I'll check the fridge, I'll check the cabinets, I'll check the doors, I'll check all the latches.
So it's been a while since we've traveled in our fifth wheel because we've been traveling in the Class C all throughout the winter. I'm being honest, I think Nathan and I both are just a little nervous because traveling in something like this versus traveling in something like this are two very different styles of travel. A lot of things we had to just remember, these checklists we had to go back to. Then I heard the click of the hitch hooking up. Wow, that's like the sound of adventure. You nervous?
Yeah.
I'm nervous too.
Not quite as bad as starting over, but it's pretty close. Yeah, I'm like just creeping out. Every turn I take, I'm taking a slow motion for a while.
What is it?
So one of the complaints people had about this is that all the hookups are at the back of the site, but we're not gonna have to worry about that because our sewer hose holder came open and we have no sewer hose.
What?
So we have no sewer hose, it's gone.
Well,
It's, I don't know, between here and Cookville, Tennessee. I don't know where it's at.
well, we passed a Walmart. Can you go get one?
Well, we're gonna have to go get one, but yeah, we don't have one.
Oh.
So this might be the winter for the most level we've ever been. Because here's what we're gonna do. Kids are starving anyways.
Yeah.
We're going into town. I'm about to get more leveling blocks to go under the tires. We're gonna have to buy sewer hoses because we have no sewer hoses.
Hey, but you got a great view. Look at what's behind you. Oh my goodness, look at that.
The leveler said it can't go any higher. Like that's as much as it can do. It says go to another location.
So it says go to another location?
Literally what it says.
Well, we can't because we got a good view, so.
That was a rough ride.
Stuff gets
All over the
shuffled
place.
around.
Let's just go town.
There's nothing worse than getting to your campsite after like a 7-hour day and letting the kids run out and go to the playground just to say, hey, slow up. We gotta go to the store. If losing our hoses and not getting level and we have to run to Walmart to buy some extra stuff to get set up in the moment is tough. So if this is the worst that happens, it'll be okay. It's all part of the journey. Too soon, I guess.
Spent like an hour and a half going to Walmart and buying more sewer hose and even more sewer hose. So I got 30 feet because all the hookups in this place are like at the back of the RV. And when I walked it off, it was like over 20 feet. And I'm like, I'm not hooking back up to this and moving it if I don't have to. So I just bought an extra 10 feet of sewer hose. I bought this because it's the heaviest thing I could find. Now I have 8 of these and I absolutely love these, but I ran out super fast because the thing is just so unlevel. So I think the plan is I'm gonna take these, I'm gonna put them under these tires because the tires are currently like 4 inches off the ground. And then I'm gonna let the jacks down onto these. I don't know, what a mess. But look at that view. The arch is like right back there. All right, I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get it. I've at least got the tires sitting on those new blocks I bought. Look at this place. I mean, usually nothing in here even moves. Stuff is all over the place. And in here, these stools like never move. These have like started to come out. They have never come all the way out. This is like worst case scenario because we haven't moved this in a long time. And I'm afraid there's a lot of dirt and debris that got shook out from underneath the couches or underneath the stove or whatever. And then the slides come out, they'll just scratch this floor to pieces. Oh yeah, our letterboard fell too. The one I'm worried about is in here. All right, here we go. You have to just like listen and hope you hear it scratching the floor. Okay, all right. Oh my goodness. The kitchen one is the one that ripped the floor last time, I think. So if you guys remember, our floor scratched open by this thing. Here's the damage. I'll put it on the screen. And so, oh man, I've at least got to catch that basket. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is a mess. I got to figure something out for this. Go back in. Please don't rip. Please don't rip. Please don't rip. Oh, it's doing this one first. Okay, that's actually good. I think. Stop. Like one little piece. It's ripped. This like dirt and debris. I mean, we cleaned it big time. Can we see the arch there? Oh, you can see the arch. Cool. Oh, wow. Huh. Wow, that could have been bad. We checked all these. They were lat. If you're watching this on your home TV and you're like, I want to live in an RV, well, just remember, you probably came home at some time recently and flipped on your light switch or opened your door, came in, and everything was okay. Like, this is what, when you live in an RV and you move an RV down a rough road and unlevel sites and the whole deal, like, this is it. Like, it's a lot of work. I just can't take any chances. I do not see anything. There could still be stuff under there. Okay. No rips. I think we're good. $75 a night, by the way. Totally worth it. Oh my goodness. Now, once a giant tag axle parks right here and I can't see the arch anymore, then yeah, it's not worth $75 a night. So one thing we've learned over like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 RVs, whatever we've had, over 7+ years of doing this, our checklist is always changing. There's always gonna be things that we forget, always things that are evolving, and there's gonna be things that we leave off on our checklist. So as far as like what we learned after this first outing from Tennessee to St. Louis with some of these mistakes we made, first thing I did was, because this was on the checklist, we did it, but it just wasn't efficient. So instead of having a gear tie that sort of went around the edge and tightened these, so I've got this reusable zip tie that I can now, the zip tie reaches around, and now they're not going anywhere. I don't like the way this bench has been moving, so this is gonna be added to the checklist that this bench is going to be moved right here. I know it still could possibly move while it's here, but every time I've seen this thing move, it always comes straight out. And so if it comes straight out, worst case, it's just gonna hit this, instead of coming straight out and hitting the fridge. So for the sewer hose fiasco, which I've never had this happen, but that's why it's being added to the checklist now. But now we're gonna take a gear tie. I don't have my small one, Marissa's gone, but I've got a small gear tie in the truck. I'm gonna take a small gear tie and go through this hole, and we're gonna use a gear tie on this, to make absolutely certain that this thing's not gonna come open and we don't lose our sewer hoses again. Now, as far as our issue with this fifth wheel being too far off the ground on the side, part of the issue is that I've gotten lazy because we've had auto leveling on the last 2 RVs. When we had the Airstream, every time I pulled up, I was always thinking, okay, do I need to ride up on some blocks, get it more level on that side? This, I could see that it was unlevel over here, but I thought, well, auto leveling will take care of that. But you get into these extreme cases where this needs to be added to a checklist of, does the side look extremely unlevel? I should have ridden up maybe even 2 levels on this side probably and stacked these on here and then rode up on the blocks so that the tires wouldn't have been dangling to start with once the RV did its auto leveling thing. Now, if you want access to our full checklist when it comes to tearing down your RV and going on a road trip, go to lessjunkmorejourney.com/checklist. And once you sign up, you'll not only have access to the checklist, but also curated LJMJ content that we put together every week for you to help you let go and get going on your next adventure. And while you're working on your checklist for your next adventure, maybe you're looking for some gadgets for the RV, because the list of gadgets you actually need is not that long. In this video, we'll go through what gadgets you actually need for RV living and then show you some other gadgets you've probably never heard of.